All right, welcome back to the BarberSHED podcast, where we help you to navigate the ups and downs of the business behind the chair, helping you to transform your place of burnout in your business to a thriving success. And all this month, we still continuing on with Black Business Month and dealing with the new Gatekeeper series. And like I always been doing all month, I'm bringing on family this time, people who have been in the industry just as well. Have you been in the industry just as long as me?
No, almost. I was on your
Almost?
heels. I was on your heels.
Yeah. Okay. So what I always make it my business to do is that every time I get an opportunity to kind of highlight, people from the area that I grew up in, but especially family, I try to make sure that I highlight those. Sometimes we focus so much on who the influencers are on social media that we forget that there's people locally who are doing really great things in business and with inspiring stories. And I just wanted to make sure that while I had the opportunity and it presented itself, to just go ahead and jump in and talk to one of my favorite people. So, Tameka, can you introduce yourself really quickly, just who you are and what you're currently doing in business now?
Absolutely. So my name is Tameka Conley. I am both a licensed cosmetologist and a cosmetology instructor. Currently, just under a year ago, I opened a one-stop salon that focuses on inviting clients to ask questions as well as being cared for.
Hmm.
So, total body wellness is the overall theme. So the subtitle of the salon is that of a beauty and wellness center. So we offer hair care, body care, nail care, veggie care. Um, so yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm growing that and trying to do my share of helping to develop those that are coming along behind me.
You just said something where I'm not quite. I'm curious, but we
Okay.
see it on social media all the time. I see the post. I have to hurry up and slide by, but it's becoming a big in business now. I wasn't gonna go in this direction, but you said it. So now, for people who don't know what that is, and I'm sure you know what I'm referring to, can you
Come on,
explain what that
you can
service
say
is?
it. You can say it. Veggie care. So, what's trending right now is that of V steaming, which is short for vaginal steaming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I take a little different approach because I actually became certified in it. I didn't want to do something simply because it was trending. It's a service in which I've been receiving for almost 20 years, so I understand the benefits of it. And with that being said, a lot of what we see on social media with the throne chairs and everything that makes you feel like a princess is somewhat ill effective because
Mm-hmm.
it's not doing its total job. And what I mean by that is with the vaginal steaming, there's a position in which you're supposed to sit that it steams directly up to your female organs. So I describe it as a hot cup of tea for your vajayjay, right? But if you're sitting in this high chair that's more like a throne, then you're merely just steaming and getting your tush wet. It doesn't give it an opportunity to travel that vaginal canal. So there are a lot of benefits that that gives us, everything from helping with insomnia, helping with hot flashes, infertility.
Wow.
There's a what I offer is a series of recipes for various female needs.
So why isn't the benefits highlighted? Right? All
Hmm.
they just show this before and after whatever. And me as someone who observes social media and absorb problems and trends and stuff like that, I've never heard what you just said the benefits is. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's well, it's the love and the hate of social media where it comes to play, where we're going to do a bunch of highlights and videos on just come here, come sit down, feel pretty, have a girls' night, right? So that's what it is. So we constantly see highlighted. So you have these big throne chairs, and we feel and sit like queens on these chairs, right? But oftentimes, those who are creating the content haven't gotten the education. So that's where it
Yeah.
is that I hunger, is to always make sure I'm educating myself, always make sure I'm educating my clients so that they'll know the why behind what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Most of the people who are offering the services lack the education to go along with the service. And
Yeah.
that
Okay.
that's with hair too, but that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
Yeah. So I've always known this about you, and I wanted to put special emphasis on this. Like, we have a lot of social media influencers. You know, a lot of people that feel this need that they have to grow a big platform, and they have to have huge followings. They got to do dances on TikToks, and they got to do all these reactions and all that stuff. But that doesn't always translate to a sustainable business.
hmm
Do you think that your pursuit of advanced education and understanding the why something works has created stability in your own personal life with being behind the chair as a stylist?
Absolutely. So what happens is I get a lot of clients in who have come to me after they've experienced trauma behind the chair, right? Whether that's going to a stylist who may have taken their hair out using chemical products, not necessarily relaxer, but possibly even color, or even the glue that's for quick weaves or lace fronts, right? Because all of those are chemicals as well. We kind of put a mask on what a chemical entails. I have the clients who come to me who've waited after they started thinning for quite some time, so they're seeking out understanding their alopecia, want to know if it'll come back. So I'm able to constantly feed myself educationally as far as the cosmetology and the industry as a whole goes, so then I can feed them. And what that then in turn does is it gets repeat services, clients repeating, clients booking ahead of time because they realize, wait a minute, there's something different. You're not just taking my money, you're letting me know what it is that I'm getting for my money, letting me know why it is that you're doing what you're doing. So that alone makes them want to come back because they're understanding the why.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, for you personally, as an individual behind the chair,
hmm
um, you don't really. I mean, you're on social media, obviously, right? But I mean, I know you well enough to know you don't be posting videos, and you don't do any of those things. And it's not because you don't have a business. It's like you're really busy, and
Yeah.
that in itself is not a big part of, like, the social media stuff is not how you particularly make money, even though
hmm
we talk a little bit about it and we're going to change that up in the future. However, however, would you say that it's possible for someone to go a different route in growing a business without having to follow trends?
Absolutely. There's something to be said about an organic connection, right? So whether that word of mouth will never die. That's the best
Hmm.
form of marketing. It's the greatest form of flattery. When someone can say, hey, my cousin sent me to you, or my therapist sent me to you, that speaks above anything that you can say happened because you were merely a number or someone decided to look you up and thought that you were safe enough to give a try. So,
Yeah.
absolutely, it's been me organically being available to clients has worked in my favor. I'm still one of probably a few black unicorns who don't accept booking online. I know, don't shoot me. But it
I'll
is
just
my
wait.
preference. It is my preference to still have those conversations. What I found did not work for me with online booking is oftentimes people will book one thing and actually need or want something else. So in my case, that would jack my schedule up, if you will, right?
Yeah, I definitely
So
understand that.
yeah, so I opt to not even put myself on that train wreck. It took me less than a month to figure out that wasn't for me. So what I do a lot for is a an appointment request, and then you wait to hear back from me because I want to have that conversation. It doesn't always have to be vocally. It could be via text, but I
Yeah.
still need, to shoot me a screenshot of what it is that you look like or and where it is that you're looking to grow, or at least a text on about what's going on with your hair to give me an opportunity to wrap my mind around how much time I'll need to properly care for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So let me kind of just bring you up to speed on just what I found this month. To just kind of just tie this all in.
Hmm.
So you know the concept of like gatekeepers, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
assuming you're speaking to the fact of there can only be one me. I won't share what I know.
you have that aspect, right? And then you
Okay.
have another aspect where if you need certain opportunities, certain advancement in your career, you got to
Hmm.
know somebody that knows somebody.
Oh,
I heard a
absolutely.
lot about that, like in the '90s and stuff like that. You got a lot of like people. If you want a raise in a job, you got to
Hmm.
be be in with this person over here
Yeah.
to get a raise, or if you want certain networking opportunities, you got to be connected to the right people. Now, with the advancement of technology and social media, as a business, we have direct access to the consumer. However, even though we got direct access to the consumer and we can speak directly to them to sell our services, we've unknowingly adopted these new limited beliefs where I call them the new gatekeepers, where
Mm-hmm.
now the gatekeepers isn't necessarily a person, although we still have them around. But now
Hmm.
the new gatekeeper concept that I'm bringing up is more of a mindset that we've adopted where what I like about your approach in business is that how you refer to yourself as a unicorn. You completely went against the grain. So you're perfect for this whole conversation because you get what I'm talking about because you just like I know you well enough to know it's like if everybody's going this way, you're thinking, yeah, I can do something a little bit different. So
Guilty.
so here's where I kind of summed everything up at, right? I found like four major points that a lot of small business owners kind of run into of why they can't grow and scale and stabilize their business. There is a lack of capital, there is a fear of failure, there is a
Hmm.
lack of skill or knowledge in their business, and then this restraint of like available time that they have to put in their business. And they
Mm.
kind of like hold on to those things where, from my understanding, those are not real valid excuses if we just take time to just step away from what everybody is telling us to do and just take a look at available opportunity. Would you say in your findings, in your experience in coming up in the industry, have you ever dealt with any one of those, whether it's a lack of capital? I think I lost you, Tameka. So stuff like this happens, where we lose somebody, and then we got to bring them back in a little bit later. Hopefully, she don't get lost, but she's coming back in right now. There she go.
Yeah.
I see you.
What are the odds? Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. So what's the last thing you heard?
You were about to ask the question.
Okay, so have you had in your experience um in any one of those things, whether it's a lack of capital, fear of failure, um, lack of skill or knowledge, time restraints that you were able to push through to just give testimony that you can push past those limited beliefs.
Well, I think for me, it was both a lack of capital as well as a fear, but not a fear of failure. More or less just a fear to launch.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Actually believing that it would not work never entered my mind. More or less navigating the waters on how it would work. So then my household would not lack.
That's good.
But yeah, mainly, and I guess that kind of tied back into the lack of capital. Um, when you don't necessarily come from generational wealth, then being very cautious on how you handle your funds becomes a part of your identity.
Yeah,
And so I believe that that's what it is that prolonged my leap of faith as it relates to expanding in business.
yeah, yeah. What was what do you think it is about your background that caused you to just really take that leap of faith, like you just said?
Well, I believe at the end of the day, so I've, as you know, brought up in a Christian household. So the basis of Christianity is that of a faith walk, a faith relationship. So just reminding myself from both a spiritual standpoint and an emotional standpoint that was given to me in my household is you really can do anything you want. You really can be anything you want to be. If indeed you put God first and allow him to navigate those waters, which at the end of the day is having faith in God to accomplish the goals and the dreams that you've set up for yourself and having a family to support what that journey looks like.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that I know about you that I want to bring out that as you're talking is that the way you approach business and the way that I would think that how stable you are in business is that you're not money driven. You're service driven. Where did that come from for you? Where you put so much focus on the way you serve people?
Again, I have to go back to my household being brought up. So I was the product of, some would say a PK, I would say a PGC. So for us, that's short for Pastor's Grandchildren. So
Hmm.
I was blessed with the opportunity to be raised in the household with my grandparents, and my grandparents pastored for 36 years. So therein lies where the servitude comes from, and knowing how to care for people and care about their well being. And it just naturally flowed into business. So, yeah, that means no, it's not going to be just about the money because everybody can't afford to come every week, right? That's ideal if you can find 20 people who are weekly clients and build your wealth from that, right? But that's not reality, especially not in today's economy. So, what does it look like? What can I do for them? Even if it's electing a style, what style can I give them that they can maintain until I see them again in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, so they're not out here looking crazy?
Yeah.
Am I going to give them something that's going to force them to need to come back more often, or am I going to hear their hearts and what they're trusting me, what they're when they're sharing in conversation and saying, I'm going through financially. This is what I can do. I can only come see you twice a month or once a month. So my job then, if I care about them, if I care about people in general, is how my solution is to what it is that needs to be done. They need to look proper for work. They need to look proper if they have to go to their child's school or what have you. And I want to make sure it's something that can easily be maintained so that they can look proper for those things.
That's good. That's pretty good. That kind of ties back into some earlier podcasts that I did earlier this month, where it's kind of like repeating itself. It,
Hmm.
you can like correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like your approach is I'm trying to be more focused on how can I serve the needs of a people
Hmm.
so that at the end of the day, like because you've met their needs and you solved their problems, it's no problem. It's not a question of whether or not they're gonna come back. So that keeps the
Hmm.
cash flow more consistent in the business rather
Yep.
than charging high prices, and then they only can come every
Yep.
month or every major
Special
event.
occasion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
special occasions, you're able to have more consistency and cash flow in the business.
And
Um,
it helps with caring for their actual hair or
yes,
their bodies, right? So what good does it do me to see you quarterly if by
yeah,
charging, let's say $250 for a silk press?
yeah,
If you can only afford to do that every 3 months, that means I see you 4, maybe 5 times a year. But in between, you can't. You're stuck with trying to navigate the waters on what it looks like with you shampooing your hair yourself, possibly buying product that's not conducive to what it is that your hair needs.
hmm,
That to me, that doesn't make sense when I can charge a rate that makes sense in terms of business wise when it comes to what my out of pocket expenses are to run an operation, and then possibly retail you some product to care, do your maintenance at home.
yeah,
If you're coming to me monthly, clearly I don't want you waiting the whole month before you shampoo again. But here's this care package that you can purchase. Then you can maintain in between. But then now we at least see each other every 3 or 4 weeks. And then that's a partnership for
yeah.
your hair versus
That's good.
putting you on this island and seeing you quarterly. and you're being made to feel, well, I can't come, but every 5 weeks, every whatever the scenario is, then we're working at a disadvantage because when you come, each time the ticket gets higher and higher because I have to start over,
That's
and
good.
that's what I definitely don't want.
Now you overworking yourself because you got
Absolutely.
to undo a lot of stuff that's done in between visits.
And
Yeah,
and financially, it doesn't make sense because not only am I the time that I spend undoing and correcting, that could be another client, which is one
yep,
additional person that's advertising your work.
yeah,
So it's counterproductive.
yeah, yeah. That's really really good perspective because the trend is high ticket prices. However, it has to make sense according to the business model, right? You have to
Mhm.
understand what your business model is. And one of the things that we also touched on with one of the coaches who was on was that a lot of times people are kind of all over the place in the business and don't know what to do because they never properly wrote down and refined
Mhm.
the mission and the vision for their business. Um, with that being said, part of what I know about you that was always odd, but now I have a aha moment is
Oh boy.
is the networking side of you and how you always seek collaboration. I always seen you doing shows and you was a part of like the education. Like, what are some things that you have coming up in the near future that is going to highlight some of those things that you've always done?
Absolutely. So, in the month of September, if you're in Illinois, we know that this is renewal year for the cosmetology industry. So, in the month of September, what I want to highlight is I don't want you just going and seeking out basic CEU hours just so that you can check that off your list and stay legal, right? So, what I'm aiming to do next month is to collaborate with other professionals that will not only do hands-on classes or show you a latest trend, but show you techniques that will sustain you in the business, as well as have those business opportunities that set you up properly, right? So there are a lot of people in our industry who may not be registered with an LLC or a sole proprietorship or, still hiding money
Mm-hmm.
versus seeing the benefits of that, or like what it is that you're offering with the coaching and setting us up for retirement in the industry. I want to basically collaborate with people with like minds to make sure that we're setting the future up or setting our fellow industry workers up to be sustainable and not have to still be behind the chair at 70 years old unless that's what you want to do,
Right.
not because you have to do it.
That's good. That's good. That's good. And it's like it's so since maybe March of this year, I've been really talking a lot about like networking events and how I never was really into Chicago networking events because I found no real benefits from it. And somehow I got dragged into it from one of my good friends and I end up having such a great time because it was what I realized is that it's not that I hate networking events. It was who was doing it and what the agenda was behind it. And
Yeah.
now it's like I look forward to doing networking events as long as I know who the person is and know what the mission is. So definitely keep me informed and everything that's going on. I want to highlight as much of that as possible. I will
Hmm.
definitely be there in full support because I
Absolutely.
know your intentions are about really serving people, not just the people that's in your chair, but the people that you collaborate with. And I've always
Absolutely.
appreciated that about you and your business model and how you interacted in the industry. So
I appreciate that.
is it anything else that you want us to know about what you currently working on? Because I definitely want to have you back like in the future, really soon, probably in person in your salon, in your
Uh,
environment.
yes.
Yeah, I definitely want to do that because you have some stories that I think are only appropriate if we are in person.
Oh, mercy. Um, yeah, just in general that. I mean, I could turn it into a marketing ploy and say, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z number of people. But the truth of the matter is, I'm just looking to help the industry be restored. You
Yeah.
know, um, I think now the industry lacks some integrity in
Mm-hmm.
comparison to how the industry was once looked at. You know, I can remember years ago, straight out of school, maybe my second or third year out of school, I had a lady who was bringing her senior mother on a regular basis to get service. And she just called me up one day and it's like, you know, mom doesn't want to come anymore, but she loves you and she loves how you take care of her hair. So as I'm asking and trying to get to the bottom of what the issue was, her response was, when you're doing her hair, her back is to you, which means that she's watching those around you. And though you're coming to work looking business casual, she's looking across the way and that's not what she's seeing. So for the mom who was then at that time in her late 70s, going to the hairdresser, as she called it, was about showing a posh way, African American women, you know, conducting themselves in a manner where you're dressing for how you're going to look when you leave there. So
Mm.
they helped with the brand of the stylist.
Yeah.
So just some of the basic pieces, we've lost our way. And I believe that that's part of the assignment that I'm given is to restore, not only restore hair, but restore integrity to the industry. So that's my goal.
Oh yeah, I like this. Okay, so we definitely gonna make it a priority to get together, like in person. I'm gonna come out to your spot. I'm gonna make a special trip
oh, oh
just for
snap!
you. Mm,
You're coming south.
I am coming south. I'm coming. I'm, I'm on my way. Just get ready. And
More
I
than
hope you
welcome.
are ready because I'm gonna be pushy too.
I'm all with it. I'm here for a good challenge. If it grows me up, then I'm here for it.
Yep. Yep. So,
Yeah.
man, Tameka, how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your services, your JJ services, your the benefits, all of that? Like, how can people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So the salon's name is the Healthy Hair Institute of Cosmetology. I
Mm,
know that's a mouthful, but it encompasses exactly what it is that we've been talking about. We're in Flossmoor, Illinois. So on Facebook, you can find us under the name Healthy Hair Institute of Cosmetology, same name on Instagram. Or if you just don't want to do all of that searching, you can on Instagram, Tameka the Hair Reviver.
yeah. Thank you so much, Tameka. I'm probably gonna reach out to you actually sooner to make some content around that particular service. That you'll be all on your own. I won't market it.
Well, you know,
I'll let you
I
market it.
I have
But
had some gentlemen inquire with us. You know, that's another segment.
yeah, but it was something that you highlighted that you said that I think some of these services that are trending really have some
Hmm.
unique values to self-care. And that's something
Absolutely.
I want to dig into as we get into the holiday season when anxiety is high. So we're gonna
Mm.
get together off camera and I'm
Yeah,
yeah, we're gonna come up with something for that.
absolutely. I look
Okay.
forward to it.
All right, so we're gonna get out of here. Because I definitely want to have you back, maybe even as a regular, just to tap in with you. Thank you so much for tuning in with me and and just giving a different perspective that you don't have to follow trends, that you can take a unicorn approach into
Hmm.
growing a sustainable business if you focus more on solving problems and solutions for the actual people that you're serving and stop being so selfish in the way you approach business.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate
Yeah.
the invite.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.